I've got something really, really good for you today, and it's going to change the way that you think about business forever. I got this idea by talking to one of our clients, Nate Burkett, and we were pretty much discussing value creation and the value of time in that whole equation. Because if you're running $1 million business and you're still running materials, you're not really saving money, you're pretty much burning wealth creation at the rate of $400 an hour. I'm a really visual person, so I've built this tool where you can also visualize it all. Once you'll see it, like, you really can't unsee it. And ideally, you will start thinking of your business like a true king. I want to be clear, like, I'm not preaching from above on this one. I've literally made all of the mistakes in the book. I've seen my clients make a bunch of these mistakes. So I'm sharing this so you don't have to repeat them. It will give you a super solid edge over everyone that's not even considering this. So let's go through the tool together. You can pretty much follow along right now, and then you can also play with the tool later. You'll find it at contractingempire.com/pay-grade. All right, so as the tool loads and we're going through this, we start with the premise, and that premise is that everybody says that time is money. But the actual reality and the fact is that time is way, way more precious than money, right? Like, money, you can make more money and you can always, produce more money and create stuff around money. But time is a non-renewable resource, right? Like, time is not coming back. Once you pretty much spent it, it's gone, right? So it matters a lot on how you spend your time, right? In business or in life or whatever it is. To get to the life of freedom that most of my clients want, we definitely need to fix how the time is being distributed, right? And this is what this tool helps us visualize. Let's say that you want to build a $5 million business, right? So I'm not really looking at the current numbers. You can obviously run these numbers for your current business. Let's say that you are a $2 million business, but that doesn't really create the future pacing that we actually want to when we're thinking about business and business growth, right? So I'm just gonna use 5 million in this case, because I think it's a really nice goal at 20% net margin. That's a net profit of $1 million. I think that's a decent payday to pretty much solve any kind of problems that you would have, right? At least in terms of finances, right? Let's say that you pull $200K a year from that as salary and you have a distribution of 30%, right? This could be more, could be less, depends on what you want to do with the profit left in the business and how hard you want to push and all that good stuff. Now, basically your total compensation for the year would be $500,000, right? So there are pretty much two numbers here, right, that we have generated based on these numbers. And obviously number of hours a year worked. I know that you're probably working more than 2,080 hours a year, right? This is just like literally 52 weeks, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. I'm pretty sure, like, just as any contractor, that these numbers are a bit skewed and probably like it's way higher, right? Probably a realistic one would be at least 2,200 hours in a year. But let's just run with these numbers. We have two numbers that have been calculated for us here: cash in hand rate and then basically wealth creation rate. So what do these mean? Well, cash in hand rate means that if you take out this total compensation, basically your worth or what you're bringing to the table or what you're being paid is $227 per hour, right? Basically it says here total comp plus divided by hours worked. Now, wealth creation rate, this is the actual money that you can work with. And this is like where we're actually starting to create wealth, is from this net profit number. This is pretty much the net profit divided by the hours worked, right? So what each hour actually generated, including equity built, right? So this is what helps you guide your decisions way better than this one. So this is like, think of this as an immediate payback, and this is more like the long-term kind of growth kind of thing, right? And obviously now these numbers are going to wildly change if you're making 10 million in revenue in a year, or 15 million like Luan, one of our clients. Like, his wealth creation rate is more than $1,300 an hour, which is obviously like a good chunk of change, right? So let's go back to the 5 million. I think like a lot of contractors would be happy with having a $500,000 business. So let's see what needs to happen in order for you to actually build this kind of wealth. So as we scroll down, you'll notice that you do dump runs, material pickups, like all of, or at least you did them at one stage of your business. And this is pretty much a framework that helps you see what needs to go out first, right? What you need to delegate first. So if your wealth creation rate, for example, is $455 an hour, but you are spending that wealth creation rate, and instead of working on building that $5 million business and still spending it on, things that take you $30 an hour to actually do, you have a problem, right? Not only do you not create $455, right? You're trying to save $30 an hour, but the actual wealth creation that's being set on fire is basically $425, which is insane if you actually think about it, right? Because we're talking about the future. We're talking about the kind of business that you want to build, right? I'm not talking about the business that you have now, but in order for you to get the business that you want in the future, you have to start laying that foundation, and you have to start building the steps that take you there. So basically, you have all of these tasks that you're probably doing or you did at one point, and this is a framework that helps you with that delegation. I already know what you're thinking, like nobody can do it as good as you, and nobody, like I had that disease, holy shit, I wish I would have just gotten out of it faster, right? So it's a disease, like this perfectionism that nobody can do it like me. It's like really something that's stopping us as business owners from hitting our goals. So that needs to go away. If you can find someone that does it like 80% better or 70% as good as you, they are good. Like they are good. Just we'll be able to play with this, and you'll understand why in a second. So these are pretty much the tasks that you have to stop doing right away. And this is anything that's related to admin work or anything that VA could do, right? Running permits, CRM data entry, materials pickup, dump runs, all of this stuff, you can find someone, you can hire someone that can do it for like $30 an hour, right? When you are thinking of building wealth creation at 455, like $30 is a no-brainer. But let's move on, right? Then we move on to like things that now you can start delegating to like a field supervisor. Now this person is obviously going to have a bigger pay, but now they're going to take on, from you like basic site measuring stuff like warranty coordination, material takeoffs, CRM pipeline management, timesheet collection, social media posting, even some of those. They're already in the home of the homeowner and they're doing they're taking down the walls and stuff, The presses record on their iPhone and just records what's going on and talks a little bit about it. Boom, done, posted, right? No overthinking, no nothing. The thing is that, again, it's way lower than what you want to achieve. It's a way lower cost of what it would actually take you to generate the wealth that you want to generate. You're literally bleeding money if you don't delegate these tasks, right? And then pretty much you start moving to plan to delegate, right? Like this is the next level where you start, doing subcontractor vetting. You're starting to do punch list walkthroughs, like the final walkthrough, like sales follow-ups or, design consultations and so on and so forth. But all of these things can be taken on by a project manager, right? You pay them 80 grand a year. And now suddenly they just took a whole different layer of work that you had to do before, right? And now suddenly, instead of you having to lose, $380 an hour, it actually pays you to have someone that takes this over. And now we're moving to the actual place where you need to actually sit in, right? Which is pretty much sales, and at one point you'll be able to delegate this as well. Recruitment, there's like unlimited value to recruiting and hiring like A players, strategic partnerships, being the face of the business, making sure that you show up in the community, go and pick up your trophies, like doing all of these things, going, to trade shows, shaking hands, kissing babies, all that good stuff. And actually, making the right choice is like, in this case here, I have choosing your marketing partner, but, choosing the subs or, like making that final call, making that final decision to who is worth it to come into your world. So this kind of high level thinking and decision making is what's actually making you a bunch of money. And there are things where you're pretty much irreplaceable, right? Like setting the vision and culture for the company, creating the financial strategy, right? Like, how are you going to hit that $5 million? What does it mean? How many leads do you need? How does everything come together? Who's the marketing partner that you need? Who do you need to recruit? Do you have all the admins and field supervisors and project managers in place so you can actually push that gas pedal so you actually can accelerate and hit those goals? Like, how fast do you want to hit those goals, right? There's going to be also a decision of capital allocation, and then, you know, like, what kind of client relationships, like some of these clients like that become like huge advocate for you and your business, like those are like your most prized positions in the business. So your whole goal at one point is just to make really good friends and build your network, because pretty much your network is going to become your net worth. So this is a very clear way to just visualize what you should stop doing now and the order of delegation in the business. Sure, you can obviously start delegating the sales at one point, and, you know, even recruitment, you can do it, but still be involved with the people at the stage that people need you to be involved at. So here we actually have like a small list where it tells you, you know, like what are the steps and why. Now, here's actually another calculator, which is super cool because it actually helps you to visualize how much money you're pretty much burning, right? Like, what's the wealth that you're destroying per year just by doing the jobs that you should not be doing at all, right? So let's say that I'm going to put this like you are like fully decked out, like you have, but actually run the numbers for yourself, right? So let's say that you're still spending time in like loading, material pickup, you know, all of these kind of things. Maybe you're still spending, let's say that you're still spending 4 hours a week on it, right? Then in the second zone where you're doing some of these material takeoffs and whatnot, maybe you're spending 3 hours because you're a really good operator. And then all that's left is basically you are doing most of this stuff right here. So let's say that you are still spending like 10 hours a week in that area, right? So realistically, it would cost you 42 grand to replace all of that, you know, through the people, right? Because this is like, obviously it's less than a job. So I'm not even, you know, I'm not even talking about like full-time jobs right here, right? I'm just literally talking about like somebody that just takes a little bit off your plate, and the cost to replace that little bit off your plate is literally destroying, you know, if it costs you 43K to replace, it actually destroys 450K at the wealth creation rate that you have, because you just misallocated 1,000 hours per year, right? Like, it doesn't look like a big deal. 5 hours a week, 3 hours a week, 10 hours a week. It doesn't look like much, does it, right? But the more those numbers, and you'll be able to plug in your own numbers, when you plug those in, when it actually hits you, how many hours in the year, right? Because per week it seems small. Maybe per month seems a little bit bigger. But per year, when you multiply that by 12, it just is going to blow your mind how much slippage, how much waste, how much more you could be doing. So I highly encourage you to play around with this tool, because I think what is going to show you is the truth that maybe you haven't even really looked at from this angle. And this whole thing, like, it goes way more, it goes beyond just the business and what you can do for your business, right? So let's say that you delegated the stop now and the delegate fast, you just got rid of these things, and you've replaced anything that's like under $50 an hour worth of your time. I would highly encourage you to consider, for example, other people in your family that you may have not even considered that would need help. And I'll give you an example, right? Like, your wife right now is probably, you know, taking care of the kids, doing the cleaning, doing the cooking, doing all of these things. Now, those are the job responsibilities of a maid. So just like you have these kind of, you know, responsibilities of, I don't know, like the male version of a maid for the contracting business, you have the same thing happening in your family, and your wife is dealing with the same thing, right? So if it costs you a maid like $30 an hour, or whatever it costs to have one that can take over the cleaning, can take over the cooking, can stay with the kids from time to time, so your wife can actually invest the time in herself, and for her to get better, and for her to learn, and for her to read the book, and for her to consume some content that makes her life better. Now, suddenly when you guys get together, then your whole life as a mix is going to improve so much more. And I'm talking this from my personal experience. Like I'm a little bit ashamed that I did this so late in the game, not giving her that opportunity to breathe when, you know, I pretty much kept her in that loop for like 4 or 5 years. But we can do better. We as men, we as kings, we can take care of our significant others and help our queens also develop and become better, right? Because in the end, this is not about you and your business. This is about your family. This is about freedom. This is about how everything comes together so we build this unshakable life of wealth and freedom and legacy for our kids and their futures, right? So if you pretty much went through all of these first two, like definitely consider giving your wife some time back as well. Just trust me on this one. It's going to elevate both of your lives so much. It's unbelievable what it's gonna do for you and your business and your life just because you're doing these kind of actions. So with that said, I highly encourage you to go to this tool, contractingempire.com/pay-grade, and just play around with these numbers. Set yourself a big, hairy, audacious goal. What do you want to do? What do you want to hit? How much money are you leaving on the table? And if this doesn't motivate you, if this doesn't light the fire under your ass, I really don't know what will. So start creating those job postings, you know, whatever it is, whatever you need to hire in the business, do it now, because like here's like some stupid math, right? Even if it's $1 million, like your wealth creation rate, right? It's $100. Like you are not saving $30 an hour. You're literally setting $60 an hour on fire. So don't think about it. I know it's gonna be uncomfortable. Maybe you're gonna, you know, eat ramen for a few months, but it's going to unlock so much more time that you can now just go and go from each step to each step and just create more worth, create more of that wealth, you know, like just make your time more valuable. All right, I hope you enjoy walking through this tool as much as I enjoyed putting it together. I'll see you in the next one.